Hey everybody, this is Brandon Ford and welcome to another TV edition of the Blind Rage podcast. This week it is Tales from the Crypt, Beauty Rest, starring Mimi Rogers, Kathy Ireland, Jennifer Rubin, and Buck Henry. And this is from season 4, and I'm using the DVD as a source, so if you want to watch along, that would be your best bet, but feel free to choose any platform you'd like. Excuse me. Before we get into the episode, I have to get some plugs out of the way. Please don't forget to check out my books on Amazon by going to Amazon.com or the Amazon app. Typing in Brandon Ford, you'll find my titles available in paperback and Kindle editions. You can also find my titles in audiobook format by going to audible.com or the Audible app, typing in Brandon Ford. If you don't already, please follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford. You can also follow me on Twitter at Brandon Ford. You can also email me directly if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, recommendations at blindragepod81 at gmail.com. And lastly, please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, especially rate. Giving a star rating only takes a few seconds, so especially if you're listening on Apple, it only takes a couple seconds. Just hit the drop down, select a star rating, even if it's not a 5-star rating, and hit submit. It would definitely get the podcast more exposure. And by the way, sidebar, I'm not saying this, I'm not encouraging this because I'm getting any money. I don't monetize. I don't get a cent for this. This is all a labor of love. So, yep. It would be nice if you would show a tiny bit of support by just giving me a little rating and maybe, just maybe, picking up some of my books. That was shameful right there, but you gotta do what you gotta do. All right, so we're going to begin with a 3 count. So if you're watching along, I hope you have your episode queued up and ready to go. Hey, because all right, 3, 2, 1, play. I got nervous for a second there. I thought it wasn't going to play. Alright, so this is Beauty Rest from season 4, an episode that I hadn't seen in quite a while, but remembered pretty clearly. I didn't trust myself, though. Therefore, I revisited the episode earlier just to make sure. The only thing that I forgot about this episode was that Jennifer Rubin was in it, even though she has a minor role. And being that she is in the world of models, it kind of made me think of her role in the Jim Wynorski, Roger Corman remake of Wasp Woman, in which she plays an aging model who has a beauty line. Not a great movie, but I like it on a purely so bad it's good level. Just as I like this episode on a purely so bad it's good level. I remembered this pretty clearly, as I said. I didn't remember the Mimi Rogers character being as unlikable as she is, but she's unlikable right out of the gate. Even when she's doing the commercial for the Ball Buster perfume, like there would ever be a perfume called Ball Buster. But not only that, this episode is almost a beat for beat remake of Top Billing, the top billing episode with John Lovitz. It's the exact same thing. It even features characters who are feuding over acting roles, and one thing leads to another, and another leads to murder. And the only main difference is, aside from the general plot, but the it's a woman. It's a woman who is the playing both the antagonist and the protagonist. I think the main difference here is you do feel sorry for John Lovitz in a way, because he is the underdog and he's been through the ringer so many times before. But the Mimi Rogers character, well, you got a man in the lead in top billing, and there's a woman in beauty rest. But Mimi Rogers, while she is struggling, you don't feel sorry for her, because she doesn't put herself in the position as the underdog. She puts herself in the position as an entitled bitch. She thinks that everything should be handed to her on a silver platter. And because she's not getting her way, she starts acting like a spoiled brat. And I completely forgot how bad Kathy Ireland's acting is. Nothing against Kathy Ireland. She's a beautiful, beautiful girl, and probably should have stuck to her day job. So just as a little side note on Kathy Ireland, I remember really, really liking, when I was very young, like 8, this terrible movie that she did called Alien from LA. And I remember seeing it on HBO as a kid, and I thought it was so much fun, but then I hadn't seen it for years and years and years until Comedy Central started playing it in the late 90s, early aughts, and I couldn't even get through it. My God, it was painful. Not only was the movie bad, but her acting was abysmal, and it's pretty clear why she didn't go down the same route as so many other successful models did in the acting world. She definitely wasn't a Cameron Diaz. But, the... Yeah, she's nasty to everybody. She blames everybody for her lack of success. She's convinced that Kathy Ireland, who is her roommate, is sleeping her way to the top, and oh God, I always do this. Why do I always do this? But I always say that I hate talking about people's physical presence and saying they're unattractive. And Mimi Rogers is not an unattractive woman by any means. I don't want to implicate that. She's a beautiful woman, but Kathy Ireland is a supermodel, or was at the time, and the main... Well, first of all, they shouldn't be going up for the same roles. I love that she says she wants these parts, but there's some things that she's not willing to do to get them. Meaning, she's not willing to have sex with a producer or director, but she is willing to commit brutal murder. That's sex. Oh no. But murder, sure, yeah, I can get down with that. But what I was trying to say is the main reason why Kathy Ireland's character Joyce is getting the roles is because she's younger and she's prettier. That's why. I don't think it has anything to do with her talent at all. It's because she's younger and prettier. And while I can't remember her name, Mimi Rogers' character, she is so dead set on Joyce sleeping her way, or yeah, she says she's never done it. Um, and
So that's okay. Didn't like that flavor very much anyway.
and she's nice too. Sees Joyce, that is. So you really you have no sympathy or empathy at all for the Mimi Rogers character, because she's lashing out at everybody, even to those who are nice to her. And while she definitely does resent Joyce for getting all the roles that she feels she's entitled to, she really doesn't have any real reason to hate this girl other than being envious and jealous of her, because Joyce is nice. She's a nice person, and it's never confirmed whether or not she has been playing the casting couch game. And yeah, she didn't even know that she got the commercial for Ballbuster, the Ballbuster perfume.
Couple of weeks, Tom. Well, he's in charge of this beauty pageant. It's for some trade show or something. And, well, he's gonna make me the winner. See, he gave me this note.
And so
Helen, it's not what you're thinking. I really like this guy. Is that what it says?
Helen, her name is too. That's her name.
No, the note's for the guy who's emceeing the pageant. Some guy named George. Don't talk to me. Joyce, don't talk to me. Just don't talk to me.
I can understand the frustration of being in a certain field where you're trying and trying and trying and you're not getting anywhere. But I mean, she doesn't handle her failures very well. She behaves as though the world owes her something, owes her everything, actually. And because she's not getting what she wants, she resorts to murder. Well, this murder of Joyce is actually accidental. She was just gonna knock her out with I don't remember what she gives her, some sort of sleeping pills, or I don't know if they're narcotics, but she gives her gives her tea that's laced with something, and she put too much because Joyce dies. But the initial plan was for Joyce to pass out and for Helen to go to whatever this venue is and take the job with this note, which is some sort of golden ticket. You never know what the note says. All they say is it's a note from Tom that is supposed to be presented to George, played by was it Buck Henry, and then that it's supposed to yeah, it's supposed to be the golden ticket that gets you past the velvet rope and makes you the winner of whatever this contest or pageant is, which you're not really clear on. You just think it's a beauty pageant.
I think the winner gets
She took like 3 small sips of this tea, and already she's starting to feel the effects, and then soon she's gonna die. But Yeah, so the first murder is accidental, and then because when Jennifer Rubin becomes a roadblock when she gets to the pageant, she kills her. So she kills two people in one day. Well, you know what they say. Murder is kind of like tattoos in that the first one it's hard to get, but then the everyone after that it gets a lot easier. Not that I would know. I've never killed anybody, or nor do I have any tattoos. But so she does. It does seem like she doesn't have a conscience at all when she kills Jennifer Rubin, and she dispatches of her very easily. And like I said, that's one of the main differences between this episode and Top Billing is that there are two killings. In Top Billing, there's only the one when John Lovitz murders his friend, who he's been in competition with for years to get the role in Hamlet. And by the way, another similarity between that episode and this one is the friend in Top Billing who is successful in the acting field has made a lot of money doing commercials. And I think it's interesting too that the very thing that opens the show, this episode rather, is Helen auditioning for a commercial. It's almost like, yeah, it kind of is your fault. You killed her. You don't deserve it. See, she's still playing the victim even though she just killed Joyce. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but I've definitely known people who, no matter what they do or what kind of harm they cause, they still see themselves as the victim, and it's so sickening. So, yeah, this is definitely one of the episodes where you have a main character who does a lot of despicable acts, or and gets their comeuppance. So you really don't feel sorry for them at the end, but there was a fair share of these kinds of episodes, that because a lot of these episodes follow a similar template where it's either a character who is bad from the very beginning and does bad things and is genuinely unlikable, and but then gets their comeuppance, or you have a character who starts out as good and is pushed to certain lengths and does some things that are completely out of their character, and then they ultimately pay the price for it in the end. So it's kind of in the same vein of the episodes that I've mentioned so many times before, where a murdered character who has been wronged comes back from the dead to go after those who've done whatever to them, and this supernatural element comes into play just because it's never really explained. And I'm really not exactly 100% sure what the fuck, because this comes so far out of left field, because this is so not something that is a real thing, something that you've never heard of before, and something that couldn't possibly be real, because this is essentially murder in front of a room full of people. And what I'm referring to is what ultimately what we ultimately find is what this pageant is, and that is Miss Autopsy. And so yeah, it is, and there's subtle hints about it. I mean, the episode is not completely brainless, but there there are subtle hints about what what the motive what Helen's comeuppance is going to be, because there's all this talk about what's on the inside that really counts and blah blah blah. And then there's one moment when the host of the show, I think it's Buck Henry, says to her, it says something along the lines of, you're going to be, when she asks if I when I win, what'll I be selling, and he says you're going to be selling yourself, because what's inside is the most important thing, or what really counts, or whatever. And she says that's really poetic, and that is a hint that it's going to be poetic justice at the end of the episode, because she does end up. Here it is.
More than anything else, you'll be selling yourself. Who you are inside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really poetic. See, but this is something that is so far out of left field that it's weird, and it doesn't make any sense, and having a corpse on display that has been, and you kind of wonder if any of these other girls know exactly what the hell is going on. I don't think, I would say no, but there's one scene when the makeup artist is putting the makeup on Helen, and he's being a little too rough with her, and he's being a total diva because Helen is resisting, and she's saying, this is too heavy, it's not going to look right. And of course you got to use heavy makeup, because on a corpse, because it doesn't, you can't, it's dead flesh, so the makeup isn't going to stay. And so he's putting the makeup on her like she's already dead. I guess that will help the the what do you call it, end result, rather, what I was trying to say. And he has a line about, what does he say? I think he says either I'm not dealing with these models or something, or this beauty pageant thing or something like that. He's like, we should just start taking them off the street, like we used to do. So this is something that they do for some reason. They pick women to be Miss Autopsy every year, because they say she's Miss Autopsy 1992. And so we have this subplot here that really, the subplot here with Jennifer Rubin really is inconsequential. It really has no bearings on what's going to happen. And I really think it was just unnecessary, and I think it was probably added purely to make Helen even more despicable than she already is. And so that confrontation, and then the murder. Oh God, Drusilla, what the fuck kind of name is that? And so yeah, I mean, I don't understand who these room full of people are who come to witness this, to witness this autopsy or this I don't know, is she disemboweled? I don't think so, because you see, from what I remember, this was before, these were before the days of CGI, so they're all practical effects. And from what I remember, you just see, or it's supposed to be, it's supposed to look like she's been skinned, basically.
Though I bet girls like you love the casting couch. Grading sacks with some sweaty stranger is probably easier for you than memorizing lines.
But I mean,
Spare me. I know all about the note.
look, there's something you don't understand. That note, it wasn't mine. I'm not that kind of girl.
Oh, yeah. So what kind of girl are you?
This is just funny to me, and I don't think it's intentionally supposed to be funny. It's like her. She's so fucking judgmental and unnecessarily so. She thinks that people who succeed do so by committing unseemly acts, i.e. Joyce, who she is convinced has been playing the casting couch, and that's what makes her so successful the whole time. And she says, Jennifer Rubin's character, Drusilla, sounds like a fucking leader of a coven. She says, it's despicable women like you who play the casting couch and blah, 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 blah. And Helen says, I'm not that kind of girl. And Jennifer Rubin says, what kind of girl are you? And Helen says, I'm this kind of girl. So, yeah, in essence, it's better to be a murderer than to be a whore. Because, if you're sleeping around, that's really pushing it. We can't do that. But we can go and strangle as many models as we see fit. That's alright. Models aren't people. I'm kidding. So this is their scene where Helen gets the first inkling that something is wrong. And
Thanks.
I wasn't talking to you.
I don't get that part. When the makeup artist says great bone structure, she thanks him and he says, I wasn't talking to you. Who the fuck were you talking to?
Wait, this is too heavy. It's not gonna look right.
Get your hand away.
Listen, I'm really fine with doing my own makeup.
I swear to God, George, this is the last year I'm doing this. This whole beauty pageant thing's enough to make me throw up. We just take them off the streets like the old days. Rudy.
I do like that they're in this weird, dark
How am I supposed to model anything?
room. And they're like the only ones there, and it's desolate, and their voices are kind of echoing, and it's the show for the most part is well directed. It's just not very well written. So I'm not sure what they did. I think they gassed her.
There's something almost magical about a pretty girl. Her smile can melt the hardest heart and set the thing a whirl.
The song is so stupid.
Pretty eyes and lovely hair are things that will not keep. So I agree with those who say that beauty's just skin.
For some reason, there's another episode. There's the Only Sin Deep episode with Leah Thompson, and then there's an Only Skin Deep episode which was convinced that that was the name of this episode. I completely forgot the Beauty Rest title. I guess it's because this is really isn't an episode that I revisit often, or haven't revisited often. I'm pretty sure that I did see this when it initially aired, because I doubt that they would have shown this on syndicated television. I can't say for sure, but to show somebody who's been skinned and their insides is and this is the whole payoff of the show. So without it, the show's nothing. The episode's nothing. I don't know. I think it would have to be too heavily censored for it to be shown on syndicated TV. I would still like to know who all these people are. Are they all like people in Hostel or something who pay to see real life mutilation? I don't know. I don't get it. It's not realistic. But again, but there's a different. As I say, this is like the show is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be the equivalent of a popcorn movie. But there's a difference between something that makes sense and then something that doesn't, and that just kind of fucks it up. But anyway, that was Beauty Rest. I want to thank you as usual for staying with me to the bitter end, and I hope you'll come back for more commentaries, more episodes, more movies, more shows. So until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.